right. Hello. How are you tonight, Bruna? Yeah, you caught it really early. Oh, kitty, that sucks that you have a headache. Ugh. Headaches are the worst. Yeah, I don't anticipate today's stream being very long just because I didn't read very many books, so talking about them will be very quick. Criminal Minds. I don't know. I feel like I've maybe watched like one episode of Criminal Minds, but I just can't deal. It makes me too like paranoid. Things like that really get to my head. All right. I only ended up reading 3 things this week. So it wasn't too exciting. Only 3 things. I mean, 2 of them were over 500 pages, so I guess it's not bad. Like 2 500 plus page books and a graphic novel. I mean, really it isn't bad, but it's just like not a lot of content. Anyway, did any of you read anything good? How's your reading been going, Bruna? Been fitting it in? At least it's progress, yes. Very, very true. Yeah, I don't even know if more people will pop in. Probably eventually. I'll just start talking about the books. Yeah, like I said, I don't anticipate going super long today, but we'll see. I'm actually leaving for vacation Thursday night. So I don't think I'll be reading quite as much this week as I would normally. Like preparing to leave, and then on top of that, since we're leaving Thursday, I won't be doing a live stream for a couple weeks, so maybe I don't think I'll have one for 2 weeks actually, a live stream, because I'll be out of town for like 10 days, so I don't think I'll be able to fit it in, unfortunately. But after that, I really plan on reading a ton while we're gone, so I think I'll have a lot to talk about when I get back. Maybe I'll have to split it up and do a couple live streams, or just do like one giant one. You're 75% through on an Agatha Christie book. Well, I think in the next live view, we'll be able to say, hey, I finished a book, because I won't be live until... let's figure out an exact date. I probably won't be live until the 23rd, Monday the 23rd, that night, Eastern time. So, yeah, a little over 2 weeks. You'll definitely finish it by then. Good job. That's still good, though. Okay, so Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. This was like my main focus for Tome Topple that I wanted to get done in this first week, and I did it, and I'm very happy with it. I read the first half of this back when I started my YouTube channel. I actually talk about it in like weekly updates that I was doing back in 2013. So actually almost exactly 5 years ago, because we're coming up on my 5-year anniversary of YouTube, of BookTube. 5 years ago, in July 31st, I posted my very first YouTube video. So I think that September is when I ended up reading the first half of this book. And then I got in a major like reading slump and never ended up finishing. So this time around I started over at the beginning and just like reread it all and up till like the point that I got to, and then I finished it. And I really enjoyed it. Hi Libby. Yeah. That is, I don't know if you guys have seen, oh gosh, what is the one about the girl and the two guys end up like chasing her after she runs away on her like arranged marriage wedding day? What is that book called? Has the green cover with the girl on it and like the two guys standing in the background. You don't know who is who, like one's an assassin, one's a prince. What is that book called? Anyway, I don't know if you guys have seen the paperback for it, like the US paperback, but it is like this big. So you think, oh, it's maybe like a 350-page book, like 400 pages tops. It's like almost 500 pages, but like the pages are super thin and everything, that it's like, it looks, Kiss of Deception, that's it. Yes, that's it. Sorry, thank you. All I could think of was Heart of Betrayal, which was book 2. But I don't know if you've seen the paperback. Like the hardcover looks like roughly the correct size in your estimation, but like the paperback, it looks like tiny, and it's not. It's actually quite long. I thought that was funny. I was like, because a friend of mine and I were talking about maybe buddy reading it. And I was like, oh, this one shouldn't take long to read. I pulled it out and I was like, it's only, and I opened it up and I was like, it's only 500 pages. Whoops, didn't think it was that long. So anyway, I just own the first book in hardcover, but I haven't started it yet either. But that was a realization that I had this week, that book is longer than it appears. Anyway, Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. This was written in 1866. So it's a little old. It's about a girl named Molly Gibson, and her dad is like the like parish like doctor, and her mother's dead, and so when she like turns 16, there's some men that are like learning the practice from her dad who like live in their house, and one of them comes to Mr. Gibson and says, I'm in love with your daughter and blah 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 blah, and he's like, oh no, my daughter's 16, she doesn't need any of your nonsense, you do not have an income, you don't make any money, you're like 20, you're too old for her, like just no no no. He's like, this is not okay. So he ends up sending her to go live with some friends for a few months, because she had like a nurse who was like living with them, so it was like proper, but the nurse ended up having to go and take care of like her really sick sister, and so he just wanted to get her out of the house for a while, and so she ends up living with like the squire in the area, whose wife is very sick, and so Mr. Gibson is over there all the time taking care of her anyway. And so the squire, she ends up living with them for a few months, and they have 2 sons, but they're like in Oxford right then. They're off in college, and so it's like proper for her to stay there, and it kind of just goes from there. And basically Mr. Gibson realizes that he should probably remarry so that there will be a woman in the house to help like Molly like grow up into a young woman, and to help her like acclimate with society, and also to be like a chaperone from these men like living in their house. And so he gets this idea into his head, and then it kind of goes from there. Let me see. You're failing at Tome Topple right now? Oh, that sucks. But the point of readathons is just to encourage you, and if you like fail at a readathon, it's not really a big deal. You're reading Fallen Masters by John Edwards. I hate it when books like feel longer than they are. You're like, no, just be done. I know you're not that long. Why are you taking so long to read? So anyway, this book, I mean, I've seen the adaptation. I don't know. I assume it was a BBC adaptation, but I've seen the Wives and Daughters like adaptation from '99 like, I don't know, probably like 3 or 4 times. I've seen it a good amount of times, and not spoiling the end, but just talking about the end. Elizabeth Gaskell died before she finished writing this book. Only like maybe 3 chapters out from the end, though. She really didn't have a lot more left to write, and people like her family members who she had talked to about the book and where she was planning on taking it and stuff like that, people knew how it was going to end, and so there was like a thing at the end of my edition. I don't know if it's in every edition, but in this Barnes & Noble edition, there was a note at the end by someone saying like, this is what was going to happen, and this is what we can assume is going to happen, but we're not going to say anything else because we don't want to like put words in Elizabeth Gaskell's mouth, and all we can be is like sad that she never got to like write these scenes, because they would have been really funny and awesome if she had written them, but since she didn't get to, like, this is what happened so that you know, and that's it. And it was very like bittersweet reading this. It stirred up a lot of like emotions and memories from the first time that I read it. I really liked it. I do think, and I haven't seen the miniseries in probably like 6 years or so. It's been a while. I do think I maybe like the movie, bits of the movie better. It's actually one of the most faithful adaptations that I've ever read / watched, like, to a T. And I remember when I read it for the first time, like the first half of this book for the first time, like 5 years ago, and I had seen the adaptation pretty like recently, I was like, wow, they got every aspect of this work down like perfectly, like scene for scene, like outfit descriptions and place descriptions and everything. It was just like so extremely accurate. And I feel like they did a really good job with that. The only thing that they changed for like the movie version is they did change the end. They added on like 2 extra scenes that weren't in the book to kind of like wrap it up, and they tweaked a few things. Actually, they added 3 extra scenes, and they tweaked a few things to realign. So actually, halfway through reading this book, I went and I watched the end because I was like, I just need some like happiness with the end of the movie. And then I came back and finished the book, and then I went back and like rewatched the end again to kind of like get that. And I ended up reading some fan fiction. I don't know, the thing about this book is that I feel like it would be, I want to find some like alternate universe fan fiction, AU fan fiction, because the thing, like the big pivot point of this book that happens like less than a third of the way in, with Mr. Gibson deciding that he needs to remarry, and so then he ends up marrying this woman that he realizes he's not very happy married to, but what's done is done. And then the boy that was in love with Molly ends up leaving to go like live with his grandfather, and Mr. Gibson thinks to himself like, well, if he had gone to live with his grandfather earlier, I wouldn't have gotten remarried, and how would have things changed out? And I really want to read some AU fan fiction about that, about like where the story would have gone if he never had remarried. And I think that would be really interesting to read. I was trying to find some and I couldn't find any, but I did end up reading some fan fiction of this book, because it's a very easy book to write fan fiction about, in that, like, since it's unfinished and since there is this like big pivotal moment that you could write, I just feel like there's like a lot to go off of. But oh, this is my first book I'm talking about. I'm just talking about it a lot, Elizabeth. Welcome, though. I don't know. It's just like, I wish that I could find some fan fiction that was like AU, like 1/3 of the way through, like, seeing how it would have changed out differently. And I'm gonna keep hunting for it, but I did enjoy the fan fiction that I wrote. It is not an easy book to write fan fiction for, in the way that Elizabeth Gaskell's writing style is really, like, funny, and she's a super, super, like, humorous, wonderful, like, witty, and just, her quips are so good. And so, like, mimicking that, I feel like, is really hard, but some of the fan fiction that I wrote, I thought did a pretty good representation of that. Did I have a good fourth? Yeah. Chris and I had barbecue ribs and watermelon, so we were very patriotic. There was a family of raccoons in your backyard. That's that's so funny. Raccoons are really cute when they eat because they pick stuff up with their little paws. Yeah, no, it was good. And we went to the thrift store and bought more books because we are trash humans. They had a lot of really good books there, though, that we were really happy that we found. Let me go grab my copy of Wives and Daughters really quickly. I don't know. I just was laughing, and I listened to most of the book up until, like, the last, like, very end, and then, I had to go to work, and I only had, like, 30 pages left, and I was like, ugh! So I knew I'd be able to read when I was up on the register, so then I just took the physical book with me and finished reading it there, and I was just laughing and laughing when I was on the register, and my like, boss walked by, and he was like, oh my gosh, she's like, calm down, and I'm like, it's just so funny, I can't help myself. I was just, it's funny, it's witty, it's clever. I don't know, there were a lot of, like, quotes that I really liked. There was, like, a quote at the end where, Molly uses the expression, apple of their eye, and her stepmother freaks out, and she's like, Molly, pray don't let me hear you using such vulgar expressions. When shall I teach you true refinement? That refinement which consists in never even thinking a vulgar commonplace thing. Proverbs and idioms are never to be used by people of education. Apple of his eye, I am really shocked. She's, like, so offended that Molly would use an idiom. Like, I don't know, it's so funny. And then Molly has, like, a really profound quote that she says, all sorts of thoughts cross one's mind. It depends upon whether one gives them harbor and encouragement. I thought that was a really good quote, where it's like, yeah, lots of people have really mean, angry, cruel thoughts, but it depends on whether or not you, like, give them the time of day in your mind, or if you just go, like, oh, that was probably not a nice thing for me to think, and, like, move on, or if you, like, feed them. I thought that was a really good quote. I liked it a lot. It depends on whether one gives them harbor and encouragement. And there's just, like, a lot of funny quotes, and Molly is super funny, and her mother ends up saying, like, but let us talk on a more interesting subject. I asked Cynthia to bring me a silk gown from Paris, and I said I would send her word what color I fixed upon. I think dark blue is the most becoming on my complexion. What do you say? Molly agreed sooner than take the trouble of thinking about the thing at all. And I'm like, that is so true and so funny. And I don't know, it's just, like, so much of the things, and I feel like I find this a lot with, like, Jane Austen's work as well, where it's, like, so many of the things that they say just, like, ring so true now, that I really, like that you can relate to something that was written over 150 years ago at this point, and that it's still, like, so true, and it's like, yep, that's a thing. I don't know. There's more quotes that I really loved, but obviously I can't read them to you because that would spoil the end of the book. But there's just so many like little quotes that I really like. I think we shall be great friends. I like your face, and I'm always guided by my first impressions. Give me a kiss, my dear. And Mr. Gibson is my favorite character in this book. He is wonderful. This is Molly's dad. He's wonderful and funny and awesome, and I love him so much. You were throwing food to them. You're so cute. The Kindle Fire? Is that what you're talking about? Yes, the Kindle Fire. Okay. Like 50 pages into this book is when Mr. Gibson is talking to the guy that's like, I'm in love with your daughter. And the things that he says to him are so funny. So like, Mr. Gibson says to him, he ends up, basically the guy ends up giving, like, the servant the note to go give it to Molly, and Mr. Gibson, like, intercepts it and reads it and is like, oh no, Molly's not reading this. I don't need her, like, brain filled with, like, nonsense love. And he says, I receive you into my house as a member of my family. You induce one of my servants, corrupting her with a bribe, I have no doubt. Indeed, sir, I never gave her a penny. Then you ought to have done. You should always pay those who do your dirty work. Just now, sir, you called it corrupting with a bribe, muttered Mr. Cox. Mr. Gibson took no notice of his speech. I don't know. It's just so funny. He's like, how dare you bribe one of my servants? I didn't bribe her. You should have bribed her. You need to pay her for your dirty work. Mr. Gibson is my favorite. I do love Miss Gibson. Sorry, I do love Miss Gibson, he said at length. Who could help it? Mr. Wayne, I hope. I don't know. It's just... I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else thinks this is as funny as I am, but I kept stopping and, like, I marked so many things. Like, I listened to it, but I had to keep, like, pausing it to, like, mark all my favorite passages, because I think it is so... They're just so witty and great. And I was cutting Christopher's hair when I was, like, listening near the end. And I had my headphones in because I was trying to finish this before I went to work. I failed, but I was trying. And I was listening to it, and I had to keep, like, stopping cutting his hair because I was just, like, laughing too hard. And then I'd go and, like, put a bookmark, like, in the thing so I could come back and mark it in my book later. And I'd, like, go, like, bookmark it on my audiobook. And then I'd come back and keep cutting his hair. And then I'd burst out laughing again. And I don't know. I really liked it. It's a really interesting book wherein I don't really like the storyline very much. Normally that's like kind of a make or break it thing, and there's a lot of like dislikable characters in this book, but like despite all that, it's just so like enthralling and enjoyable, even though it's very frustrating at the same time, because you're like, wow, if you would just please not do that and do what you should do instead of being idiots. It reminds me, I feel like Wives and Daughters is like a mix between Sense and Sensibility and Mansfield Park a little bit. Anyway. So that's the first book I read this week. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's probably more close to a 4.5 stars, but I still really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to reread it in the future. I first want to reread North and South. I want to do that this year, but I really, really enjoyed it. Next, I read a very short little book. This is a little graphic novel, Super Narwhal and Jelly Jolt by Ben Clanton. I gave the first book 5 stars. I loved it. I thought it was so funny. And then this one I liked. I gave it 3 stars. I liked it. It was still cute. I just didn't think it was like as funny and as original. I don't know. I still liked it. I still gave it 3 stars. 3 stars is still a good rating. But I just loved book 1 so much that I feel like I was a little bit less disappointed by this. But if you haven't picked up this series yet, I really recommend them. The first book is Narwhal, Unicorn of the Sea, and I recommend. I'm excited to read book 3 though. And that Narwhal is adorable. Yes, he is. He's very cute. And the last thing I read this week was my second book for Tome Topple, Soaring by Kristen Ashley. This is the second book in the Magdalene series by her. It's pretty closely like connected into book 1 in the series, and I definitely would recommend reading this series in order. But these are romance books. They're all like this one is 600 pages, I think. Yeah, it's 600 pages. So they're all that length. I'm excited to read book 3. I wonder which characters it's about. I didn't even look. I just finished this book a couple hours ago. This one is about Caddy. I have no idea who either of these characters are. Maybe I will once I start like listening to it. But this one is about Mickey from the first book and then someone new. So what I really like about Kristen Ashley's books are that usually, this is not like always a rule, but usually, at least from the books that I've read by her, I think I've read 6 books by her now, 7 books, 6 or 7, and her books are super hit or miss for me. I think I've given 3 books by her 1 star, and 3 books by her 4 star, and 1 book 3 stars, or 3.5 stars. Like, they're very hit or miss. Like, either I really like them a lot, or I do not like them at all. But this one, what I really like about her books, though, and from what I've noticed, is that her books are usually about women over the age of 40, usually have been in like some kind of long-term relationship before, often divorced, often with children, often overweight, often, because what is the ideal weight? Ridiculous. But often not like tiny little pixies, just like out of the norm, and I really appreciate that. So like the girl in this is divorced, has 2 kids, and is like trying to like patch her relationship back up with her kids because it went kind of sour after the divorce. And then the guy that she ends up with is also divorced and also has 2 kids, and is trying to like, yeah, maintain a good relationship with his ex-wife and stuff like that as well. They ended up getting divorced because she is an alcoholic, and then she ended up getting divorced from her husband because he cheated on her and left her to go be with another woman. And I don't know, I really liked that they didn't start dating because they felt like they needed to be in a relationship, or that they were unhappy with their life the way it was or whatever. Like, that's not why they were in relationships. It was because they were working on themselves. They were working on their own, like, personal development and being happy with themselves. And then they just happened to meet someone that they liked, and so then they started dating them. And it was, like, super fine. And I don't know. I think one of the things that, like, really stopped me from liking this book, I did like book 1 better. Something I think Kristen Ashley needs to be better at, maybe, is differentiating her characters, because sometimes, like, the character in book 1 speaks in a very, like, strange manner, and it's, like, pointed out a lot that, like, oh, she speaks so weird. But then the girl in this book, I didn't notice her speaking extremely different than the girl in the first book, and like nobody ever commented on her speaking weird, and I was like, but she's saying really weird things as well. And I think part of it was like the narrator that I was listening to as well. She made the narration like sometimes feel very like stilted. The narration I probably only would give like, I don't know, maybe 3 stars. Like, I like it, it's fine, but it's not like particularly good. So I feel like that might be part of it as well, but I think also Kristen Ashley just needs to like differentiate the characters. Sometimes they act far too similarly, and she uses the same slang over and over. Like, the word babe is said like a million times, like probably at least like 50 times in this book, at least 50 times. I'd really like to look at the Kindle book of this and see if that's true. I wonder oh, I'm not signed in. I thought I would be signed in. Because I think maybe I own it on Kindle. Let's look at that and see how many times the word babe is in it. Your content and devices. Will it let me read it online? Read now. Search babe. Oh, it doesn't give me a list of how many times it's used. Rats. Okay, well, here, I'll pull it back up for you guys. Okay. Sorry, I know you couldn't see what I was doing. This is ridiculous. Pillars of the Earth. Oh, you only gave it 2 stars? Oh, I want to read that. I've heard it's really good. Well, dang. Oh, it did say it. Okay, thank you. I didn't think it said it initially. So the word babe is used in this book 86 times. It is a 600-page book. But that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Absurd amounts of the word babe. I wonder what it is for baby. Baby, baby, babies. She just needs to, like, widen her vocabulary. 128 times they use the word baby. And a lot of that she uses, like, describing her kids. Like, she calls her daughter baby a lot, like her baby girl. But at the same time, this is probably my biggest problem with Kristen Ashley's books. Yeah. I know.
I turned it off. Do you want these?
Yeah. Thanks. Oh. Thanks, babe.
You're well. Oh. I know what you're talking.
Did you hear what I was saying?
No, but I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. Love you. Babe, baby. Let me see, what's another word? I think she uses the word sorry a lot. I don't know if it was as much in this book as in other books. But she uses the word sorry a lot. And I don't think she does it quite as much in this book. But that's not... Her characters apologize way too much. 100 times they say the word sorry. And a lot of the time it's a question. It's sorry? 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 Whereas, like, I think if you go and read the second book in the Colorado Mountain series, I think she says the word sorry, like, way too much. She also swears a lot as well, so if you don't like swearing in your books, let's just look and see. There's a lot of swearing in this book. That's a lot of swearing. Oh my gosh. So she uses the F word as many times as she uses the word babe or baby. And that's just the F word. The S word is a lot as well. And stuff. She just needs to widen her vocabulary. That's Kristen Ashley's problem. $225 times. That is absurd. I don't know. So, even though I did really like it, I like what her stories are about. I like what they confront usually. But at the same time, it's like, it gets really repetitive. Like, Kristen Ashley's books are not books that I can, like, binge all together. Like, I can't read a series, like, of her books over and over. Because after, like, 2 or 3 books by her, I just get really annoyed. And I'm like, okay, you need to stop. Because she does it for every book. And this is just one book by her. I don't know if I own any other Kristen Ashley books. No, I don't own any other Kristen Ashley books. Only reason I own this one is because it was cheaper to do that and to get the book with the Whisper Sync. Oh my gosh, why can't I spell today? Sorry, babe. Nice. I don't know. Okay, so here's the Magdalene series. So book 3. So you can get it for $2 if you buy the Kindle edition. Oh, that's such a good price. Okay, so we just bought the time in between. Now let's go find it. Let's just do a little Christian Ashley experiment really quick. Has it not showed up yet? Come on, show up. Read now. And, I don't know, all her characters just speak so similarly. Babe. Is that... Oh my gosh, only 9. Is that true? There's only 9? I am astounded. What about... I'm trying to think of like other words that I know she uses a lot because there are some. I'm astounded that babe isn't in there more because I have yet to read a book where the guy didn't call the girl babe a million times. So that's still 58. But a lot of them, as you can see, are like questions still. And let's not look up the other words, but she does use them a lot. And I'm really astounded that babe isn't in there more. I wonder about baby. Oh no. A 100 uses of baby. Well, then. Anyway, sorry. Just having a little bit of a rant. But besides that, I really liked it. So basically, I like that she comes to terms with herself before she, like, gets into a relationship. I didn't like Mickey at the beginning. He's very, like, I know what's best. I'm a manly man. Blah, blah, blah. And it was very frustrating. Like, some of the things he said, he was just too much, like, in her face, and I really didn't appreciate that. But after a while, I liked him better, but I really didn't like Mickey at the beginning. I don't know. Overall, I did really like this one a lot, though. I would have liked it better if Mickey was less of a turd at the beginning and less, like, overpowering. And I would have liked it better if it'd been more distinct from the first book. I still enjoyed it, though, and I'm excited to read the third book because I think this might be a series that I like every book in the series, which would be amazing. Anyway, those are the only 3 books that I've read so far this week. The week is over. These are the 3 books that I read this week. As far as what else I'm currently reading, I'm a couple hours into Phoenix and Ashes by Mercedes Lackey. This is the 3rd book in the Elemental Master series. It is a Cinderella retelling, and content warning right off the bat. She, like, gets her, like, finger chopped off, and then, like, hot poker, like, seared, what is that called? Sutured, or whatever. Which made me feel a little queasy. Scenes like that always make me feel really queasy. People's body parts getting chopped off for like the sadistic sake of someone else really, really gets to me in books, especially like fingers. I just can't deal, and I wasn't expecting it from this book. It made me feel kind of nauseous. But I am liking it so far. I'm only a few hours in. It's actually set during World War I, which I didn't realize it was set so late. I thought it was going to be 1800s still, and it's not. It's currently in the book, I think it's 1917, I think. 1916 or 1917. They haven't said for sure, because they start out with the book and it's 1914, and then she says that it's like 2.5 years later, so it's one of those 2 years. And I think that's really interesting. I didn't realize how late it was set, and so him being dressed the way he is, I'm like, oh, that makes sense if he's like ex-Air Force. Discharged Air Force. And she's a fire elemental and he is an air elemental. Working together, I think they'll be very interesting because I feel like those would work really well together. Royal Rabbits of London. Okay. So anyway, I'm a couple hours into that. I'm hoping to finish it tomorrow. That would be nice, but I don't know if I will be able to. As far as Audible, really quickly. My pre-orders. It says that I get this in 21 hours, so I think I'm going to get this early. Which I shouldn't, technically I don't think I should get it until midnight of my time zone, but I think they'll actually give it to me at like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., which would be awesome because then I could get a few hours in. So I don't know if I'll actually end up finishing the other book before I start this, because this is 100% my priority. I want to get to this so badly. European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman. So that's going to be my main priority this week. Thanks for the recommendation, Elizabeth. Oh, you have 2 different editions in your in your thing. I don't know if you noticed. And Kaylee has it marked as to read. Of course she does. Nice, I'll definitely check it out. Oh, it's super modern. I didn't realize how modern it was. Nice. So I'm currently working on that. I listened to a little bit more of Equal Rights. This book is so funny. I cannot deal. They like live in a city. The town that they live in is called Badass, and it's just it's so ridiculous. I really want to finish Frog Kisser this week. I still haven't finished it because I'm a terrible person. But it works for Retellathon, so I'm gonna really try to hunker down and get it done. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe? I don't know. As soon as I can. And My Lady's Choosing I would like to get more of as well. And then the other book that I'm working on right now that I'm gonna put on hold for a couple weeks until I get back from vacation is Calibans War. I got 5 or 6 hours into this book. I think 5 hours into this book. So a fourth of the way. And it's just very like emotionally wrecking. This does not spoil anything that happens in the first book at all, but this book 2, Calibans War, starts off with like a child kidnapping, and that is kind of like rough for me to read. And I don't know, I just feel like I know that I'm a sensitive person, and obviously authors can write whatever they want, and it's important for their story, but that doesn't mean that I'm always like in the right like mental state of mind to read things, and that's how I kind of feel with this one. And it's like so anxiety inducing. Like this book starts off like super intense. Chapter 2, there's like a lot of people dying and getting blown apart, and it's like very like gory and gruesome and etc. And it was just like really rough for me to read, so I didn't feel like reading it. And reading it is like really intense. So I'm gonna try to put it on hold for a few weeks and try to come back to it after I get off of vacation, or at least after Read-Telethon is over. Maybe I'll try to listen like an hour a day while I'm on vacation or something. Because that's only listening for half an hour to get through an hour of the audiobook. And that would give me 7 more hours through, which would be nice. Is it subject matter for you, Bruna? What is making it anxiety-inducing for you? Or is it something that you can't pinpoint? This book is just a lot. And I don't know. It was just very much for me to read at the moment. And then my plans for the week. I'd like to finish up Phoenix and Ash, European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman, All the Ever Afters. Let me see. Oh my gosh, stop. All the Ever Afters by Danielle Teller. It's a Cinderella retelling that just came out in May that I'm really excited to get to. It doesn't have super great ratings so far, but oh well. Fairest of All, which is the book one in like the Villain series by Disney. That one is the Wicked Queen from Snow White. That's her story. And then Wildwood Dancing by Juliette Marillier. And then I'd also like to get to Realms of Mist and Ash by... Oh, what is her name? There's a J, the letter J in her name. J.S. Malcolm, that's it. There's a J in her name. This is book 2 in the Fey Witch Chronicles. This book just came out on audio on Tuesday, and I'm really excited to get to it. I really, really enjoyed book 1. I think she is so funny. Cassie is a wonderful character, and book 1 left off on like a major cliffhanger that I was not okay with, so I'm really excited to get to this one. And those are all my reading plans for while I'm gone. There's other books that I want to get to. Books that just came out that I'm dying to get to. Kiss of the Spindle is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and my library bought it on Tuesday. I put it on hold on Wednesday. At that point, there were 11 people ahead of me in line, so I'm number 12. And now there are like 30 more people behind me, at least. I think there's like 45 people to 50 people on hold for this one copy of this book. And looking at it, it says that I won't be able to get it. It says estimated you'll get it in about 22 weeks. So, end of the year, possibly early next year is when I'll read this book, unless they acquire more copies. So, did not see that coming. This I can get immediately. This I'm on hold for. I only have to wait like 2 weeks. This I'm on hold for. Only have to wait like 2 weeks. Nobody has bought this one yet because it's not out, so all of these are not out yet. We'll see. But I am on hold. Some of my libraries bought some things early. So Born to be Wild I'm already on hold for, and A Duke by Default I'm already on hold for because the libraries have already bought them. So those are other things that I'm planning on getting to soon, but those are some other ones that I want to get to, and I don't know when they're coming off hold, but as soon as they do, I'll try to pick them up as well, potentially. I'm really excited to read Scandal Above Stairs. If you like Downton Abbey, you will probably like this series, by Jennifer Ashley, and the first book is called Death Below Stairs, and book 2 is Scandal Above Stairs. Box of Frogs is the new book by Helen Harper. It's the first book in a new series by her. I really loved the what is it called? Slouch Witch series by her, the Lazy Girl's Guide to Magic series by her. So I'm really excited to start this series, and my biggest priority is European travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman. Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik is coming out this week as well, so I'll probably get to that as soon as I can as well. And I hope that one of my libraries buys Kill the Farm Boy, because I'm really looking forward to reading it. It's supposed to be hilarious. It's described as like a mix of like Terry Pratchett and William Golding, who wrote The Princess Bride, and I really enjoy both of those things. And it's supposed to have like a ton of fairy tale references. Like people have been saying in the reviews, it's supposed to have a ton of them. Like, not a retelling, but just like a lot of like snippets, and I'm excited about it. Oh, that sucks, Bruna. No, The Princess Bride is not as good as the movie. The movie, while it's still a little sexist, it manages to cut out a lot of the sexism. The book, my biggest problem with the book is, even though it is very funny, it's extremely sexist. So it can be frustrating to read, because there are 4 female characters in the whole book. 4, I think, maybe 5. There's like 4 female characters in the whole book. None of them have any lines, and I don't think it passes the Bechdel test. And it's just so like, one is beautiful and is an idiot. One like dies. One, all she thinks about are like clothes and wigs. And one is like a nagging hag. Which is the same as it is in the movie, but I guess because the movie's shorter, it manages to cut out all the bits that seem like super unnecessary. I don't know. The humor is really good in that book, but they're so similar that unless you really want to read it, I don't think it's necessarily necessary or worth it. The movie is better. I think the movie is better than the book, by far. And the casting is super good. The thing about the movie being such a good adaptation of the book is that William Golding wrote the screenplay. Like, he wrote the book, and then he adapted it and wrote the movie. So, like, it's not like some random, like, Hollywood writer, like, was like, this is how I'm gonna change it, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is William Golding's vision, and he did a really good job adapting it and making it better than the original source material, in my opinion. It's basically just like the book. The book is just like the movie, but more sexist and with a lot more like backstory. So you get like Fezzig's. Yeah, I'm like really, really sure that he did. Let's see. Writer's William Goldman. I was saying Golding. William Goldman. Yeah, he did both completely on his own. That, I don't know. She doesn't even have a name. Her name is just The Princess Bride. She doesn't even have a name. Also, the book starts out with like this weird, I don't know, the character at the beginning of the book who is the grandfather character in the movie, he's like a Hollywood like screenwriter, I believe. He's not a likable character. He's kind of gross and unenjoyable as a person. So I didn't enjoy reading that either. I do like the backstory that you get on the book. They do mention Princess Buttercup, but like they don't even like name her in like the IMDb. Like that's how unimportant of a character she is, and she's even less important in the book than she is in the movie. Like literally, she's such a dunce. Oh, and Wesley slaps her in the book. She like, I think she tries to argue with him about something, and he slaps her and says, "Don't argue with me, woman." I had problems with the book. IMDb. Yeah. I don't know. Wesley is a lot less likable in the book. He's so funny in the movie. And, I mean, he's funny in the book as well, but he's also hits women. So, that's not nice. I don't know. I obviously have a lot of issues with the book, but I mean, I can appreciate it without hating it, and appreciate it without totally loving it either. You don't like the movie at all? Are you kidding me? That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. Probably in my like top 15. It is so funny. Yeah, if you don't like the movie, you won't like the book because it's just the same but longer and more sexist. In my opinion. How do you not like that movie? Oh my gosh. Speaking of movies, reading Wives and Daughters this week really put me in the mood to want to rewatch stuff. So like I watched the end of this, I watched bits of North and South, and then I watched the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, which I haven't watched in a long time. I grew up with the 95 version, the 1995 version of Pride and Prejudice, and love it. And so when I watched the 2005 version, I was very like, about it. Like I didn't care for it. And then I watched it again, and I was like, oh, actually, I quite like this, but I don't love it as much as like the 95 version. And I still think I don't. They're just very different kinds of adaptations, portraying very different like moods and feelings. But I rewatched the 2005 version last night of Pride and Prejudice, and I loved it. It is a beautiful movie. The cinematography in that movie, the lighting, the way music is used with the lighting and the shots and everything, it's so gorgeous and stunning. I loved it, and it's one of my new favorite movies. I don't know, it was so good. If you haven't watched the 2005 Pride and Prejudice in a while, go watch it. It's really, really good. I don't love the casting in it for all of it. Like, I don't like Mr. Bingley or Miss Bingley, Caroline Bingley. I don't like how they were casted. Actually, Mr. Bingley irritates me a lot. I think he looks high all the time. But it was still enjoyable. Anyway, the character, or the actor that plays Inigo Montoya is in Criminal Minds. Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that. Other Elizabeth loves Princess Bride. You just can't like it. Oh, that's so sad. I mean, I would say just start with Pride and Prejudice. I think it is her most accessible work. She's definitely in top form in that book, and I love the characters. My personal favorite by her is Northanger Abbey, because it's so funny and amazing. And she is in rare form in it. She is so funny in it. But But Pride and Prejudice is a close second. And then, as of now, Persuasion is third in my mind of enjoyment levels. And then Sense and Sensibility, Emma, and then Mansfield Park. I don't like Mansfield Park. But I would just say start with Pride and Prejudice because it's not as, like, wacky as Northanger Abbey, but it's really good still. Yeah, the 2005 movie is really good. I didn't realize how good it was until I watched it, and now I just want to watch Pirates of the Caribbean because she put me in the mood. Good old Keira Knightley, which I didn't think I liked Keira Knightley very much, but watching her in Pride and Prejudice, I was like, I think I like Keira Knightley. She's pretty good. I like her a lot. So, anyway, is there anything else? The other thing that I've been watching this week has been just on YouTube. I've been watching some of the streams for, gosh, what is it called? Summer Games Done Quick. SGDQ 2018. And basically it's just, it's a week-long charity speedrun marathon raising monies for Doctors Without Borders. So, it's exactly what it sounds like. So over the course of that week, they raised $2.1 million for Doctors Without Borders, which is incredible. So I've been watching a lot of the streams from that, and the Prevent Cancer Foundation. Nice. So like I was watching, I don't know if you haven't ever watched speedrunning. I think it's so enjoyable to do. And I love watching like gaming tournaments as well, but I've been watching like Oats and Goats. They have a YouTube channel, Games Done Quick, and I've been watching I don't know where it is. Let me see. Because I did so many. I'm gonna have to go back to find it. I was been watching Oats and Goats is. Yes, Super Metroid by Oats and Goats is the one that I've been watching. It's the run that he did is go into every single room in the game. Run, which is like such a random like thing to run for Super Metroid. It's just like go into every room and get every single tile mapped out on the map. But it's really enjoyable, and I've watched a lot of his streams on Twitch. Like I'm subscribed to him, not subscribed. I follow him on Twitch, and so I was really glad that he did stuff for SGDQ this year. And anyway, if you want to watch any of these, they're really enjoyable. I always love watching a good speed run, and Oats and Goats is really good at it. And I want to go and watch some of these other ones because they've uploaded like all of them now, though I'm slightly overwhelmed and don't know where to like start. But they did a lot of really good games this time around as well. So they got some like Super Metroid. Let me see, what else did they do this week? Lots of Mega Man, of course. Tomb Raider, Castlevania, Sonic 3. Oh, I kind of want to watch that. I do love some good old Sonic. Skyward Sword. They did a 520. Cuphead. I think the next one I'm probably going to watch, though, is the Super Mario 3D Land, because I love Super Mario 3D Land. And 3D World. I love all the Super Mario games. Anyway, if you never watched speed runs for video games... Oh, Banjo-Tooie as well. I love the Banjo games. They're hilarious. If you haven't ever watched speedrunning, it's very addictive and very enjoyable. Anyway. I think that's it. This already went on way longer than I expected it to. I expected to only go for like half an hour, but of course I always get super rambly and stuff. But I only have like 20 minutes left to watch of the Oats and Goats Super Metroid, which I'll probably finish up tonight. That's another thing is if you see my, what I read this week, I didn't read for like 3 days. I didn't read on Sunday because I was like at Steve's all day, and then Monday I just didn't feel like reading, and Tuesday I didn't feel like reading, and then Wednesday I sort of read a little bit more because we were out at the store, so I just like listened to my audiobook when I was walking around, and then Thursday and Friday I got better again. But I didn't read for 3 days, and considering that, I am really happy with the progress that I've made for Tome Topple. Reading 3 tomes in a little over a week span, I think is pretty good. I intend to finish like 2 more tomes before Tome Topple ends, so that will round me up to like 5 tomes for 2 weeks, which I feel like is good, but it might go past Tome Topple just a little bit because I'll be out of town. But anyway, alright, so I guess that's where we'll end it for today, but thanks for being here and chatting with me and all that good stuff. I really, really enjoy doing these weekly streams. And in case you missed it at the beginning, I won't be doing one for two more weeks because I'll be out of town. So until, I think my next one will be on Monday the 23rd. I think it will be my next live stream. I'll update you on Twitter though, so go follow me there. I'm just Bradley Giselle. Same thing as I am on like Instagram. But yeah, I'll see you all in 2 weeks when I do another live stream. I don't think I'll do one before then because I won't have access to a computer or anything, but I hope you guys get lots of awesome reading done. Good luck with the rest of Tome Topple if you're doing it, and have fun with Retellathon, which started today. Yay! And have an awesome few reading weeks. I'll see you all then. Bye, everyone.